So last week was the first time in over a year that I did not upload to YouTube. And there's a few reasons why. Number one, I didn't have anything really new to share with you guys. Obviously, I've been paint prepping, block sanding. It's super repetitive. There are a few things that I did record, some little tips that I'm going to share with you later on in this video. And also, I needed every little bit of time that I could get just to get it to the milestone it's at right now. Oh, the car's outside.
Garage time.
Okay, I got the car back in the garage. It is in its 2K primer. So 2K primer is a urethane primer. It's high build, and this is the foundation to do the sort of final block sanding. I put 3 coats on it. I'm hopeful that I can get it pretty good with just this. If I have to add another coat, which I'm sure I will, another probably 3 coats, then that'll get it as straight as I need it to be. And also just to kind of get those odors sort of outside, because it's still drying. I've been pushing it out each day just to get some sunshine. You know, I live in California, so why not? Wow, thanks guys. You guys are awesome. Do good work. Okay, one tip that I wanted to share with you is this tool right here is a nylon punch, and I think this is what the paintless dent guys use. I think I got this on eBay, and it's basically just machined nylon, but it is helpful in tapping down some high spots. So right here on the front of the door, the shiny metal is high, so very carefully I just take my body hammer, and it's, you know, just a couple light taps. And then I'll use a straight edge to know if what I did made a change. And I can tell that that's been tapped down based on the way it sounds, and also using the straight edge, I now know this is no longer a high spot. So I'll do this throughout the car just to make sure that I'm not using too much filler and tapping the, you know, doing the best average height, putting the high spots down and then bringing the low spots up with filler. Okay, I'm all for making sanding easier, and one of the things that really helps is the different blocks and so forth. And I have several blocks, the round, you know, for getting inside these curved areas. I got several, but one that I made myself is, this is just a piece of plexiglass, and it's probably, I don't know, slightly less than an 1/8 inch thick. And what I like about this is it's flexible. So if I want to massage this internal contour here, I can flex it with my hand and then run it along here. So if you remember from way back, these are short hood fenders that have been extended. So this panel from here down has been added on by me. I made this panel myself, and now I'm trying to blend it in this wheel arch. So there's a little bit of filler here. And if I flex it, I can kind of match the contour, and it springs back. This is 180 grit because, you know, cutting on the corner happens really quick. So there it is. That was real fast. It only takes a couple passes. Trying to match it and blend in this contour using some customized tools is pretty helpful. Now to do this side, I'll go back to the traditional round block. Let me show you that one. Okay, here's my round block, and this is like an inch diameter block. It fits well inside this curvature here, and I only put sandpaper on a thin portion of it. I found if you try to wrap the sandpaper all the way around it, it makes it too stiff. So this does have some flex to it, although not much. It just bends just a little bit. It's a pretty hard block. So if I need something softer, I have this block, which is literally called the soft block, and it's a much lower density foam, and this allows me to, distort it and bend it. So I'll use a combination of these to kind of get this last little bit smoothed out. And this just conforms to the shape of the car, really. So there you go. That was, pretty quick with the right tools. I just wanted to share that with you. Everything else that I've been doing is just block sanding, and there's nothing new. If you also remember, I used to use my steel ruler to kind of flex that into the shape. And that's where I got the idea when I was in the metalwork phase. I was taking bandsaw blades or steel rulers and sort of, laying them into that shape and making sure that the profile was correct. So I'm doing the same thing on the sanding phase, just using plexiglass now with sandpaper on it, and it just gets it a little bit closer. And then with the 2K primer, I will do the same and just use a higher grit paper, probably 400 grit paper. That's going to allow me to make sure the radius is correct and just keep an eye on it, make sure it looks factory, because none of this stuff is factory. Okay, I'm going to be focusing my attention now on the inside. Seems like I just keep pushing the problem around, but now I need to sort of clean this out again. This is just a collection of dust and sand and sandpaper and parts. So I'm going to be focusing my attention on cleaning this out. Also, this removable panel here, I'm going to be working on that. I need to get that sorted out before I can put the roll bar back in. And the goal now is just to let this exterior shrink and cure over on its own. Pushing it outside will help, but I want to give it at least a couple, 2, 3, maybe a month before I start sanding on it again. Okay, here's the hole that I cut for that panel to go in. The reason why I cut that hole is so I had access to these shock turrets, and the roll cage is actually going to mount right onto these shock turrets. I'm planning on using coilovers, and these have been fortified with those angle brackets, but I also wanted to tie into the roll cage just to make it extra stiff. And I have a few other modifications planned too for down here in the seat pan area. And I'll get to that soon once I get some of this cleaned out. Okay, here's the part. I want to clean it up a little bit. I am all out of the aircraft stripper, so I have this kind of environmentally friendly stuff. I'm gonna just put it on real quick. I don't expect it to do much, but it will soften this undercoating, and then I can just mostly strip the edges so I can weld a flange on. Okay, I'm going to let that sit here, and while it's soaking in, I'm going to start vacuuming out the car. Here's the rear bumper I need to work on. That's a little bit less dusty, but it's still plenty ugly. See how the paint stripper's doing? It kind of works. I mean, this might need a lot more time. It works a little bit. Okay, I just got the perimeter stripped off here. That's the part I need to work with today. When I get the correct aircraft stripper, I will tackle this side here. This side's really difficult because it's undercoated, and that stripper I have is not for this. It's probably for like finger paint or something. So I went ahead on the back side too. I hit it with that mechanical thing, and then also my bench grinder. I just touched up some of the edges a little bit. I want this panel to be removable in the car. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on, you know, quick quarter turn fasteners and slick hardware, but I do want it to be removable. I think I'll be able to get access to some of the throttle linkage, maybe the oil cooler, maybe some of the ignition modules, whatever goodies are towards the rear hard to get to. They might very well be accessible through here. So the plan is to make it look flush, and I'll weld some nuts on the backside and screw it into the firewall. Now, this is the actual part that was cut out, so I need to add some flanges on it so that I can maneuver it inside the hole and then have something to attach to. Okay, this is where the panel was cut out, and I cut this out with a real thin blade so I can actually reuse this panel. And I think what I want to do is this lower section is really obscured by this cross member. So I think I'll add a flange to the car on the bottom, actually from the bottom all the way around to that side. So from like 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I'll add a flange fixed to the car. And then in this portion where I want to have better access, I think I will put the flange on this piece. So what'll happen is I'll sneak it in like this, rotate it up, and then attach it just to make sure that it's not going to rattle, and I don't want any fumes to come in from the engine bay into the car. So this will probably have a seal underneath the flanges so I can attach it as if it was not even cut out. Okay, here's a flat piece of steel and a Sharpie. So I'm going to trace this upper half onto the steel and then add a 1/2 inch margin on both sides. Okay, you just saw me trace that radius using this paint cap, and it just made me kind of chuckle a little bit because I'm also using this paint cap as a sanding tool. So you can see here there's sandpaper actually taped onto the edge of this, and this happened to be the right radius to sand the torsion bar holes a little bit. I accidentally clogged up that hole relief when I was spreading some filler, and I had to kind of dig it back out and shape it a little bit. I spent a lot of time on those torsion bar holes, but here's the sandpaper still on here. So yeah, you don't need fancy tools, you just need a little bit of ingenuity. Okay, now it's time to see if this ugly thing actually fits in the car. It's gonna require some maneuvering to get it in the hole and then flip it up. So I just wanna check the fit before I go too far. And I welded this flange on the wrong side. Great. I mean, it still fits, but that's not what I had planned on doing. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a night. That's not what I originally had in my mind. I'm gonna think about it some more. It might actually work, but I am exhausted from, you know, basically 2 full weeks of just sanding and cleaning, and you know, I've basically done all I can do. So come back next week. I will get this hatch done and start to plan a little bit more of the roll cage. I definitely want to do some tricks on the roll cage, so please check back next week. Take care.